Elise Lowerson. I've been with Houzz for about 8 years now, so seen a lot of different things happen and wonderful things with the software to provide you guys with a ton of resources for your business. I'm one of our product support managers here at Houzz, so I work really closely with Keith's team, our product team as well, and helping support any questions and needs you guys have in the software. So really excited to go over today all the benefits of using our project management tool through Houzz Pro. A fun fact about me, let's see. I am a certified scuba diver, so love going diving. I haven't been in a minute, but it is a fun way to explore the coast of Southern California here. Go over to Catalina if anyone is familiar with the SoCal area. It is on my bucket list to visit Ireland one day, Keith, so maybe I'll come visit you when we're out there. But yeah, that's a little about me. Okay. And I am, just a quick note before I share my screen, we're going to go over all these topics listed here on this slide. I'm going to go in a slightly different order just to make sure we're following the flow of how all of our different features connect with each other in Houzz Pro. So same topics, just a slightly different order than what you're seeing on the screen here. So let me get my screen share up. Okay. So where I am in Houzz Pro right now is on the home page. So right when you log in, it'll take you to this page. You can also access your Houzz profile from the Your Houzz dropdown in the top right. And before I dive into estimates and go into the project section of Houzz Pro, this will correlate to estimates. So I wanted to touch really quick on our templates section and our parts and categories list. So we do have for our US build professionals pre-built templates for our estimates. So here's a couple of the system templates we offer today. And any estimate you create within Houzz Pro, you can actually save that as your own template. So here's one that I've done for a bathroom for one of my clients previously in the past. So just wanted to call this out. This is where templates are listed, and you can create new templates directly from here as well. And the other really cool thing for our build professionals is our built out parts and categories list. This is something we have available, again, for US customers today, where you can favorite items. You can actually create your own custom items as well. So I have, for example, custom railings and 2x4s listed here, and then our system options, which have preloaded pricing for material and labor. So this is something that you can always recall back to. You can also edit these products and, again, favorite any that you use often. So just wanted to call out this section to reference when you're utilizing estimates. All right, from here, I'm going to go over to our projects tab. So this is where every project will live within Houzz Pro. You can click on all projects, and this will show you every project you've got. You can filter by all, active, or even any that you've archived that might be completed in the past. You can also filter by who's assigned to the project. So are you running it? Is one of your project managers or a team member running it? You can filter here. And then you can also see from this drop-down list your most recent projects. So I'm going to go over to my friend Bob Ross here and his kitchen remodel project, and we'll utilize this one for examples on each feature today. So first, when you're in a project, great overview page. If you hover over this little eye icon, these are going to be all the project details, like the name. You can set up a code for this project, the budget, address, the status, as well as the scope. If you need to edit any of this information, you simply click edit from that dropout, and then you have all the additional info that you can set here for your client and for this particular project. Just wanted to call that out really quick. And then from the overview page, you can see really any activity for this particular project. Takeoffs you're working on, which we are going to cover today. Any files and photos that you've uploaded that you can share with clients, which there includes a takeoff folder as well. 3D floor plans you might be working on, your schedule, which we're going to go over that in a little more detail, along with tasks. You can assign tasks to not only just yourself, but your team members, as well as your clients for things that they need to work on to move the project forward. And then daily logs, so you can make a nice note of what the pro needs help with, or what the client needs help with on their project. So great overview of everything going on with the project right here on the overview page. Now I'm going to skip to estimates. This is our first major feature for today that we want to cover. So this is my estimate page for every estimate I have built out for Bob Ross's kitchen remodel so far. I can reference these back. I can sort them and filter them using these filters up at the top. I can also create a new estimate right from here. So there's a couple options for you when you're creating an estimate. You can either use one of our templates, which are those system templates I just showed you in the template page. There's also a way to upload. So if you have an estimate, let's say a PDF that you're already working on and you want to upload that and share it through the Houzz Pro system, you can do that. You can also create an estimate from scratch. So if you wanted to create one from scratch, you just select that option and that will load a blank estimate for you. So what will load in here already is your company information, the document information, as well as the project name, which all of these fields are editable, so you can change these if you need to, as well as the client's information. Other things you can update are like the due date of the document, when it was created. You can also hide this if you don't want to show that. And then the status here, which these will update automatically, but you also have the ability to change these manually if you need to. So from here, some pros that I work with will add custom items. They'll continue to either look at the list of items that we already have preloaded, or they'll create a new item here up at the top. And you're able to add in things like photos, the item name. You can even add a description. So let's say I'm going to add, just say kitchen sink. Maybe the description, I add that it's a Kohler sink. You can have special formatting for anything written here as well. Click save, and then add any images also. Something else we're going to cover today is our clipper and selections process, which will give more context to the images within an estimate as well. Quantity, units, material, and labor are separated out. You also have what the total cost will be, markup, and then you notice this little eye icon. This is visible only to me as the professional right now. I'm in preview mode, so I'm just looking at what I'm going to be editing for this client. I can make this not hidden if I'd like. This is something I have the option to show the client. If it's taxable, both material, labor, or either one, and then the total at the end. You'll also notice there is this plus button. So we give you the ability to add columns. You can also hide certain columns. So if I click this button, I'll be able to add a custom column here, which I have the options to either add a text field, checkbox options, single select, date, duration, or adding a link. For example, if you want to add the link to the product page, maybe it's on a different website or on the Houzz site in our marketplace. In addition, if I go over to the settings for this document, here is where I can toggle between what columns I am showing to my client. Do I want the SKU shown? Maybe I don't need the quantity shown, or maybe I'm only showing labor and not material. So this is very customizable. And you can also add a new column right from here with that view we were just looking at. Now, in addition to adding all these great columns, you want to make sure you're adding items. So there's not only the custom items, but the reason I showed you the parts and categories list earlier is if you go to add items, you can actually create a new item from here as well, or from our parts list. So if we open this up, that'll give us a pop out of what we were just looking at on that previous page, where I've got my own items here. And if I go back to the library, I've got a catalog of items that I can look at. Here are my templates, so I can actually add from templates here as well. Let's say I wanted to add from a system template that we have available. And we'll do kitchen and bathroom remodel, since this is a kitchen remodel for my client. Opening this up will show me all of the different categories within that template for this particular estimate. And I can either do the plus button and pick and choose the items I want to add to this estimate, or I can add them all. Typically, I recommend adding them all and going through later and removing the ones that you may not need. And it'll give you that prompt to say, do you want to add them all? You just say yes. And I'll close out this window for just a second. And now I'm going to see all those additional categories that I've added in. Preliminaries, the pricing. Again, these fields are all editable, so you're welcome to change these. Maybe planning and permission is an hourly rate instead of pieces. We've also got linear feet, square feet, cubic yards, and a deposit. Can add custom unit types as well if you'd like. But the benefit of our templates is it has a lot of preloaded information for you. Again, you can customize anything you'd like, but from here, let's say I needed to actually remove this custom product and I don't need a skip bin or signage for this. I can click those off the estimate template and I can remove those items right from the top. And that will take those off for me. From there, I will be able to save this as a template. So like I was saying previously, you have the ability to save your own templates to save you some time. You may create a custom estimate for, let's say, a whole home remodel that you spent a lot of time on. You want to save it to be able to duplicate it and use it later for future clients. You can just go up to more actions here and then save as template. So that will live in your library with our other system templates as well. If it's still in draft form, you can also delete the document. So you have that delete option here as well. I love that you can give the client the ability to approve by line item. Maybe you don't need them to approve the whole thing at once. So you would just, again, go up to more actions, turn on approve per line item, and it will give you this pop-up of every single category that's on that estimate and what you want to have them approve or decline. So again, maybe resetting these, declining all or approving all, and they can go in and check individually these items as well. All right. Let's see, let's go under more actions again. Let's say you're meeting with a client who is a little more paper and pen, maybe old school. They don't do a lot of things digitally. You do have the option to approve or decline this estimate on their behalf. So you have the approve and decline options, as well as the ability to download this as a PDF. So if you wanted to email this or print it out and give it to your client in an in-person meeting, you absolutely can. I recommend if your client is a little tech savvy or uses digital tools more often, you can send this to them directly through Houzz Pro. You have the to address, which is going to be your client's email, the CC, which right now is myself as the admin of this account, but you can also CC anyone else who's working on this project, your project manager, again, a team member who's taking the lead on this, and you have the BCC option here also. This is just a template that's added in for this email, but you can feel free to change this to whatever you'd like. There's also the My Template option here, which is specific for email templates. So you can add in your own email templates here and set those as defaults if you would like to use something more unique and that you want to use continuously for future projects. You can also copy this link. So this will copy the link for the preview of this estimate. So I can show you what that looks like here. And here's the preview of what my client will see. I have all the items. Again, the details here, it's marked as sent because we did copy that link to send it over to the client. And the other thing that's really great before you actually send something to a client is if you go back to the edit view of your estimate and go to preview here, this again will show you the preview of what this looks like to your client. You have the ability to edit what the client sees. So maybe you don't want to show the category pricing. You can take that off and that will just show the totals. You can also remove the detailed breakdown. So you don't need to show quantity and unit and all the other extras there. If you uncheck the detailed breakdown, it will automatically remove the detailed pricing as a default. Those two are kind of interrelated. So again, it's up to you what you'd like to be showing to your client visibility wise on the estimate. There's also the columns you can adjust here. So again, if you want to show materials, we can add that in. Maybe I don't want to show the client the markup. That's just something for me internally to know. We can remove that. And then again, you can adjust these as much as you would like. Approval, electronic signature will be on by default. So your clients can electronically sign these. And the approve per line item option by default is off, but you can also turn it on here. So from the edit view or the preview view. And if I do that, your client's going to see a nice little X or check mark, allowing them to approve or decline each option. All right. And again, download a PDF up here, copy link here, sending to the client here. And then if you want to go back to edit, you can either hover over these ellipses here and click on edit estimate, or you can click the back to edit button here, whatever is easiest for you to use. So I know I started with building this from scratch. Again, you can add custom items as much as you would like, create new. Those will save those to your product library as well. Let's go back to the project though and start from a template. I showed you a little bit how that works from this view, but let's start with that view instead. So we'll go back to the estimate page within the project, and then again, up to new estimate here at the top. If we click from template, that's going to give me every template that I have in my Houzz Pro system. So it's not just the system templates that we have available, but any that I've created myself. So maybe I want to use this one that I created a while back. I can click create, and that will preload that template for me with the items that I had already utilized in this template before when I saved it. Give that just a sec to load. There we go. And then again, I have that pricing here. Everything is editable. You can save items to your library from here as well if you need to. Copy the name, move things around. So maybe you want to move this section to the bottom of the list, or update the category. So maybe this item is supposed to be under a different category. You can change that right from the right rail of those 3 ellipses options. And then create. You can create an invoice and a purchase order from an estimate, which we're going to come back to those 2 items today to go over how that works in a little more detail. But let's see if there's anything else on here. We talked about settings. You can also group. We're currently working on our grouping for documents to add additional options for you guys. But for now, you can group by room if these are assigned to a room, which we're going to discuss that as well today, or by category. So up to you how you are sorting your estimates and organizing those. Any questions, Keith, I can answer, or things I might have not gone over yet regarding estimates?
There was one question there from Stacy just about adding a margin rather than a markup. We have a markup column, which is a dollar figure. I think what Stacy wants to do is add like a percentage on a line item.
Great question. So I'll just use this top product as an example. Here on the markup column, which I can expand this a little bit more, you can see that it does give you the percentage, but right now I have my markup set as a dollar amount. So what you would do is click on the number for the markup and then change it from this drop-down menu from the dollar sign to the percentage. And you can do that on each of these items. And I just reorganized those in a different way. No problem. Good question. Any other questions on estimates so far?
I think trying to sift through them here.
I see one from
Should we be turning
Andre.
a lead?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, ideally. I know I didn't start in the CRM, but I can definitely go there first. In your CRM system in Houzz Pro is where all of your leads will be. You can add them manually if they come from another source. If they're from Houzz, they will come directly into the system automatically. So if you go to all leads, ideally, if you start with a lead, it's great to convert that lead over as a one project and then utilize all the project tools from there. So for example, my friend Iron Man here, I've got a lot of popular friends in my Houzz Pro account. I can convert this to a project once, let's say I send them an estimate, which you can do from a lead, or I do a floor plan for them, or a takeoff, which we're going to go through takeoffs next. Once they are ready to go and they signed on as a client, you would just convert this to a project, and that will take you through the project flow to then have this be a one lead, and it will mark the lead as one in the CRM as well. Great question.
Real.
Just scanning the chat also to make sure I didn't miss anything.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I will go back to our Bob Ross kitchen project here. And the next thing that is very useful for our construction and build pros is our takeoff tool. I absolutely love this tool. This is probably one of my favorite features of the build software. It's so comprehensive. It's so easy to use. It saves you a ton of time. So takeoffs is really uploading your construction plans and making sure that you're measuring the space on the plan correctly. So everything's set to scale, which I'll show you shortly, and that you're purchasing the right amount of materials for that project and for that particular space. So let me go over to takeoffs, which is right underneath estimates. And I actually already have a takeoff in here that I was working on. So we're not going to work on this one since this is already marked up. I'm going to upload a new one so we can kind of start from scratch there. So how to upload? A couple ways. There's an upload option right here in the top right. You can also go to this drop-down menu, which shows you the file that you already uploaded. And there's an upload function right here as well. So I'll go ahead and use this way. I have my floor plan here already. This should be a PDF file of your floor plan or your construction plans from either your architect, or if you're a design build firm and have somebody in-house doing the plans, or from the city. That is what you should be uploading to this tool. I'm going to close this measurement drawer just for a sec. And you have the ability, here is the preview of the page. You can pin this as well. Maybe you have a really large construction plan that you're working on that's multiple pages. You can pin the important ones that you're working on up at the top. And let me just click here. Once you click on the preview, that will give you the plan here uploaded to the Takeoff tool within this particular project. So the first thing I always recommend our professionals do is set the page scale. You want to make sure the scale is accurate, because if you don't, then all of your other measurements are not going to be accurate for the materials you're looking for. So if we go to page settings here, the first option is the line width when you're drawing on the Takeoff. The default is 1.0, but you have other options if you want it to be a little thicker. Since I'm screen sharing, I'll go ahead and do the 2, so the line is a little easier to see. And the page scale, we have some options that are preloaded in here already. For example, 3 inches equals 1 foot on the page. In reality, 1/8 inch equals a foot. But a lot of times my pros will want to set this scale themselves. So you can use any of these pre-selected options if that meets the scale of your actual construction plan, or you can find the scale. So let's do that. This find scale option down here in the bottom left corner. We'll click on that, and then there's a set of instructions on what to do next. So it tells us to measure the known length on the page. The longer, the better for accuracy of your measurements. Double click to finish once you're done measuring that length, and then input the length to calibrate this page. So all of your other measurements will be calibrated to match that. So we're going to find the scale following these instructions. I typically measure this wall of the garage. It is one of the longer walls within this home. So I'll go ahead and click once. There's a thick line you can see there. And then at the end, double click. And now it's going to give me the scale. So let's say in reality, the length of this wall is 20 feet. If it's no inches, you can just leave that blank. If it's, let's say it's 6 inches, go ahead and use the tool here and then set scale. That is going to add this page scale into the left-hand corner where the page scale is listed. So again, 3 inches on the page equals 20 feet and 6 inches in reality. So any other measurements you do are now going to be set based on this scale. So again, that's really important. Step number 1 is to make sure your scale on the page is correct. Okay, from there, lots of great tools up here in this toolbar that you can use. Number 1 is this rectangle tool. So this is measuring the area for a particular item, let's say flooring, for example, that is in a rectangular or square space, so not an odd-shaped room. So if I click on this, I'm going to see here, which I can come back to my groups as well. I have various different groups that I've added in of material that I use for various projects. So I have hardwood flooring here, actually have it listed twice, but these are options that I could use when drawing with the rectangle tool. Now, before I start the drawing, actually want to take a step back for a second and explain how to add these in. So groups are going to be material. Counts are also going to be material, but the difference is, like, what are you measuring square footage of is going to be your group. For count, that's going to be actual items. So for example, how many electrical outlets are in a space? How many toilets are there? Sinks, things that you can count physically versus needing to measure the square footage of that space. So a couple ways you can add groups in. You can create a new group here, which you can give the group a name. I'll just do like test hardwood. Maybe it's luxury hardwood. I can give it a category. So right now I don't have any categories set up, but if I wanted to do flooring as a category, for example, you type it in and then just click on the create flooring category highlighted text there. I can also change the color. This color is what's going to show up on the takeoff plan when you're doing the measurement. So I'll make this, let's say, gray color. And I highly recommend, if it's a material that you use often, add it to your favorites. That'll make it easy to go in and manage those and change pricing and update the group if you need to. And then the unit of measurement, the two options we have are square footage or cubic yards. So I'm going to go ahead and select square footage for this, click create, and that will add this group into my existing list here and you can see flooring now is the category I added. If I go back, I could actually go and categorize all these other groups that I have as well. Now, the other thing, again, before I get to the measuring and exciting part, is managing your favorites. So when you click that manage favorites, I will go back a sec because I know I did that quickly. Up here in the top right, next to the upload button, these are all the favorites that I've added in for my different groups and counts. You can see counts actually have a symbol as well, not just a color. But if I needed to adjust any of these, remove them, change the pricing, I can do that right from this manage favorites view. There's also delete and move options. So the one I just added down here, I don't have a price yet. So I think one of the big things to make a note of between our estimate templates and using Takeoffs is that Takeoffs does not preload pricing for you. You must add pricing for every group or count that you add into the Takeoff tool. Otherwise, you'll measure a space, you'll have the square footage, but it won't give you the cost. So for this, let's say this is rather expensive flooring. Let's say it's $150 per square foot. Very expensive, but I want to make sure I'm adding that pricing in so I can accurately account for how much I need to spend on this material. Save, and that will save the pricing for you. Now we can get into measuring. So again, selecting rectangle, I'm going to do the living room. Let's say this is something I need to completely add new flooring in for. It's a new home, the flooring's old. What you do is you click in the corner of the room, hold and drag and drop. You can see the square footage is dynamic and it changes with me as I go. And then down to the lower right corner and then release. And there's that light gray color that I assigned this group to. This is now telling me, and I'm going to go back over here and open the measurements drawer, drop down caret. Here is the square footage based on the scale that I set that I'll need for flooring in this living room for specifically that luxury hardwood flooring. And we're going to turn this into an estimate after I do a couple other drawings so that we can see how the pricing shakes out as well. All right, let's test it with the next feature, which is the polygon tool. Similar to the rectangle tool to measure the space, but this is great for odd shaped rooms. So not a rectangle and not a square. So let's take the bedroom, for example. I don't want to get this hallway section. I only want the closet and the actual bedroom. So I'm going to select polygon. And I'm also going to select the group that I'm going to be using for this, which in my case won't be hardwood flooring. Maybe I want carpet in the bedroom. I do have carpeting as an option here already. So I'll select on that. And then this is a little different than the drag and drop. You're going to click. So you basically click around the entire space. Click, and forgive my not perfect measurements right now. You guys will do a much better job than me. And then at the very end, double click. And that will fill in, again, the color I have for this group is green. So it always keeps those like easier to see visually on your plan. And you can rename these as well. Polygon 2 is just basically because I use the polygon option. If I want, I can rename this to bedroom 1 carpet or rename it to whatever you'd like. So it's a little more clear when you're getting to building the estimate from a takeoff. All right, next is our length tool. So this is a great tool for measuring the wall. Let's say you needed to have a feature wall, maybe in the dining room here, you're going to use a feature wall with wallpaper. You would select the length, again, choose the appropriate group or add a new group if you need to. I'll go to my uncategorized here. And I already have wallpaper as an option, so I will select that as well. And then for the length tool, you click, similar to when we were finding the scale, click on the beginning of the wall and then double click at the end. And that will add in that measurement as well. And again, I'm probably going to rename this to something different. Dining room feature wall. Again, whatever you'd like to name it. And this little cube function is great to add additional measurements. So if I click on the cube icon, I can add in height and width. I can also add in depth, and pitch is great for if you're measuring like a roof for an exterior. But I can add in, let's say I needed to account for the height of the wall, which let's say it's 10 feet. And then I click done. That will actually help convert my calculations to cover the entire wall, not just the base of where I measured. All right, deduct tool. This is a great option, not only for interiors, but if you're doing a plan for exteriors to remove areas that don't need material added. For example, windows, doorways, garages. If you don't need like shingles for those sections, you can remove them from your measurement. I'll use bedroom number 1 as an example. So you would select deduct. There's no groups that you need to select. And then I'm going to go over to bedroom 1 and remove the carpet in the closet. Let's say I only wanted new carpet for just like the actual bedroom, not inside the closet. You would drag and drop, similar to the rectangle tool. It'll give you that dynamic measurement, release, and it will actually remove that square footage from the measurement that we already did for the carpet in bedroom number 1. All right, I'll take a pause there for just a sec. Any questions I can answer?
We don't have any questions really coming through yet.
Cool.
Not specific for Takeoffs, so you can keep going on.
All right, great. Almost done with the measurement piece for the Takeoff tool here. The last thing, I know I've mentioned counts a few times. If you click on counts, excuse me, this is going to be things like fans, electrical outlets, toilets, sinks, anything that there's multiple of that you're not needing to measure the square footage of, but they are materials and products that you need for the space. So for here, you click on count, and then your same thing, you can categorize these in various ways. The ones that I have added today are door frames, electrical outlets, outlets again, just a different naming, sinks and windows. So let's go with sinks. You can also change these colors, but again, make sure you're adding the pricing on these if you haven't already. You can check by editing here and looking at your list and making sure all the pricing is filled out for your groups and your counts. Okay, so let's go with sinks. We're gonna count how many sinks are on this plan. Start here, here. It doesn't need to be perfectly centered, that's okay. There's one in the kitchen, there's one in the bathroom, and you can always close the measurement drawer if it's in the way. And these 2 in the master bath. I don't think I missed any other ones. Those are the main ones. Okay, great. And then again, open the measurement drawer, and here's your sinks, which has 6 as a count. There are 6 throughout this space. So now we're done. Let's say we don't need to measure anything else. You have the visual of what this looks like. Now you want to convert this into an estimate. You can save this to files directly from here as well. That's what that Takeoff folder was that I mentioned earlier. Or you can click on review and estimate, and that's going to pull up this preview for you, which you do have the ability to download this as an Excel file or start a new estimate from here. So I'm going to go ahead and start my estimate. And it's always going to give you this pop-up asking if you want to combine the groups and counts that you did on the Takeoff into one estimate, or if you'd like them separate. You have the option. We do recommend keeping them together because it is all part of that same construction plan. So ideally part of the same estimate, but we do give you the ability to do them separately if you'd like. Click continue. All right, and then here's the familiar estimate view that we were looking at to start this meeting, but I can see the different options here, which this says empty because I did not categorize these groups and counts, but you can also do that directly from here. And then flooring, I did categorize. You'll see the category up at the top. And again, if you need to edit any of these things, adding in labor, in updating your markup to percentage versus dollar amount, you can add all of those items from here as well. But then you have the total, the tax rate, and we're going to talk about scheduled payments shortly. You can do those both on estimates and invoices. So we're going to talk about them on invoices specifically. But this is a great way to never under order or over order materials, making sure that you are, again, setting the scale, that it's accurate measuring. Materials are such an important part of moving a construction project along. So if you do under order and then you have to wait for those materials to come in, that delays the project. If you over order, of course, you can lose out on profit when you have extra product that doesn't need to be used. So this is a fantastic tool to save time. You don't have to sit at your desk with a ruler and calculator and try to do this manually. Our system does it all for you, and it's saved right within the project in Houzz Pro. So that is a quick overview of estimates and takeoffs. All right, I'm going to go back to our project here. So again, whenever you're in a document, you can go through the ellipses and visit the last few pages you were on. So let's click on Bob Ross kitchen remodel again. And I'm going to go to that estimate that we recently created, and not the one from the takeoff, the one we were doing from the estimate view before. So I'll click on estimates here. Let this page load. And also I should call out too, under the Manage tab, all of the functions that I'm looking at in the project are mostly listed here as well. So if you want to go to your purchase order page for every purchase order you've done, not just for this particular project, you can. Same with invoices and estimates. So let's visit the estimate page here just to show you what this looks like. So here are all the estimates again for every project that I've done, and they're for active projects and active estimates. So I'm going to look at the one we just created here, which is this one. And I'm going to show you what a change order now does. Change orders are a fantastic tool to be able to have a paper trail of the changes beyond what the initial estimate that was approved reflects. So let's say you're met with your client, excuse me, they just went over this estimate with you and they're happy with everything. They're good to go to move forward. You can either have them approve it or you can approve it with them. So click approve. It'll give you this update. This will approving estimates on behalf of your client will unlock the ability to create invoices. So once it's approved, you'll have the ability to do an invoice. And would you like to continue? Say yes. And this will open up the estimate for us, which is now an approved status. You won't be able to edit the estimate though. So what you need to do if you need to make a change to an approved estimate is create a change order. So let's take, for example, I don't need to change the whole estimate. There's just a couple things I need to update. So I'm going to scroll through, and let's say for light fixture here, this is the only thing I actually need to change on the already approved estimate. You would select that, or you could select everything if you do need to change the whole thing. And then go up to more actions and click create change order from there. That's only going to create a change order for that item or multiple items that you selected. It'll give you the code here as well, which you can change if you'd like. It also always links the document. So it's really nice in Houzz Pro. It will link estimates to change orders, to purchase orders, to invoices, so you can follow the flow of that entire project and all the documents that you've sent to your client. So here, what we've got, this is what was originally planned on your approved estimate. You had for the light fixture, you only needed one piece. The material cost was $1.32. The labor was $8.83. Total cost $11.17, and the markup was about $1. I didn't have a room option selected on here, but those are the items that my client originally agreed to. If I need to change something, I would recommend adding a description as well, so this is visible to your client. So let's say we decided on 3 fixtures of the bar instead of 1. So let's say that's a note from your meeting with your client where they actually changed their mind on how many fixtures they needed. You save that, that'll add the description there. And then the bottom row you notice is editable. This is because what you're updating in the change order. So instead of the quantity of 1, we actually need the quantity to be 3. And then that will reflect if we don't need to change the labor. Maybe the labor becomes a little more expensive because there's more items. You can change that as well. And what's really nice is it highlights in yellow what that change is. So it's not a secret what's being edited. It's very visible on what you're changing here. Markup can also be edited if you need to, but it'll tell you the new total here on the right. And if I scroll down, it's actually going to show me what the planned cost was versus what the updated cost is. And I know some of my pros, not everybody does this, but some do add a fee for changes once an estimate is approved. So you can do that as well. Let's say the fee is $100 to make this change. This is going to be the new total due by the client, $155.85. You've got the payment schedule automatically added. You can also upload any files, maybe receipts, I don't know, a screenshot of an email or text message of you and your client talking about this, whatever files that are relevant to this change you can add, and your terms and conditions and any memo that you'd like to add for your client are available on a change order as well. And we will have them sign this, which of course is electronic. We want to make sure they're agreeing to these and you have a paper trail of those changes. So it's not getting to the end of the project and realizing, oh, I didn't account for that change, or the client's asking why we changed this. You'll have a paper trail of that within Houzz Pro. So you can preview this just like we do for estimates. And now we can see, if I scroll down here, again, what was originally planned on that estimate versus what we updated, again, highlighted in yellow. And then allowing the client not only to sign it, but also to pay online, which we're going to go over online payments today also. So again, great way to account for changes in the project. I do recommend, this is just a best practice for me personally, I recommend using change orders for an increase in price. If it's a decrease in price, you actually can go back to your estimate. So if I go to his project again and go to his estimate page, the one we were just working on, if I need to decrease something, maybe we returned a product wasn't available. The change order, again, is a great tool for increasing price from the initially approved estimate. You also can reopen an approved estimate for editing, which would be a good thing to do if you're decreasing the price of the approved estimate. It'll just give you this pop-up saying that this will essentially remove the approval from your client and they'll need to approve it again once you make those changes. All right. That was pretty much it for change orders. Really great tool, again, to have that paper trail. But the last thing I wanted to touch on here before we get into more of the financial and money side of the project are purchase orders. So if you need to utilize a purchase order tool for communicating with your vendors on products that you need to buy for a project, you can also do that directly from an estimate. So again, just like a change order, you can either do a PO for everything that's listed here, or you can select the particular items that you want to do a PO for. So let's say I'm going to do the framing and floor options. For all of these, I need to send this to my vendor so we can order these products. You would select those. You even have the quick create options here to do an invoice, change order, or PO. You can also do that up here from more actions. You would create purchase order. And then it's gonna, if something is not assigned to a vendor yet in Houzz Pro, you're able to do that directly from here. So for this, I'll say Ganal Lumber is my vendor for all of these items. So I'll just add them on. And if you don't have a vendor selected, you can create a vendor from here if they're not already listed in your vendor section of Houzz Pro. I'll just add all of these to Ganal. They're a big vendor of mine that I use often. We're going to go ahead and create this purchase order. And this will include not only the vendor address and information, maybe there's a contact that I work with frequently who's my main point person at Ganal, but also the client's information. Where are we shipping this to? So we can change this to, maybe it is going directly to the vendor and I'm going to pick it up on the client's behalf. Something custom, maybe you have a warehouse or another office that's a receiving warehouse for all your products, or to the project addresses that are listed here, which would go directly to your clients. So kind of up to you on where this ends up being shipped to. You can change your payment terms as well. We offer due upon receipt, net 15 through 60, custom or done. The build date, the due date for this, and then date created, which again, you can hide this if you'd like. Similar to estimates, you can change the column settings and adjust what you're showing. You can add new custom columns here. And you can add additional items if you need to. So maybe there was another item from Ganal that wasn't on the estimate, but you actually do need to order from them. You can add that either by creating a new item or from adding from your parts list. Another great thing here is the status. You can adjust these. So is it you're waiting for a quote from them? It's ordered, it's back ordered, which I know is a common occurrence right now with the pipeline of ordering products. It's en route, it's delivered. And I would say delivered is actually like delivered to the homeowner. So sent to the homeowner's address. Maybe it was delivered to your workroom or it was delivered to the receiver. So that could be, for example, your warehouse, or maybe it went to the vendor and you're going to go pick it up, or it was installed. So you have the ability to adjust these as well. And POs are great because you can edit them in pretty much any status. So you don't need to reopen them. You'll be able to edit them as you go, as you're working with your vendor. Similar to our other docs here too, you can download, share the link, preview what this looks like. you still have all those pricing settings you can make visible to your vendor as well, and then send that off. So great way not only to communicate with your clients on documents, but also any vendors that you're working with within your project. Cool.
We don't have any questions really about POs. We had one come in from Edna about how to create a ceiling for a patio, and I think what is meant is how do you measure a ceiling for a patio. So my understanding is there that they're looking to measure like a raked ceiling. So you just get the area and then use the cube to add in the fall. So that's
exactly
how you would do that.
Yeah, great question.
And one other tiny bit of context just on Takeoffs before we move on is that
Sure.
when you're sending an estimate as well, that you can download the marked up plans that you've created. So if you've done all the marked up plans, you can also attach them to an estimate. And we've really seen in the past that it's kind of set builders apart who kind of use the Takeoff tool. Because you can imagine if one person sends an estimate on the back of a napkin or whatever it might be, just as a typed email, and somebody sends kind of the marked up plans with details of everything they've measured, as well as a proper kind of proposal through the Houzz Pro system, that it already kind of sets you like 5 steps ahead of the other builders that are competing on jobs. Something to be mindful of.
Very professional way to present all of your documents and have them be nicely branded and organized. Exactly. Thanks for calling that out, Keith. Okay. Well, I am back in our Bob Ross kitchen remodel project. And the next thing I wanted to cover is more moving into the financial side of getting paid for the projects that you're working on. So you'll notice under the finance section, we just covered, we're going to come back to invoices, but we covered POs, change orders, and now we're going to look at retainers. So retainers, think of this as the same way as a deposit. If you're starting a large project and that's your normal business practice is to take a deposit on the front end to guarantee that client, what you would do is come to the retainer section of their project and then click on new retainer. I have one set up here already, but we'll create a new one. So if we go to new retainer, this will load the retainer for me. And then I can say whatever this needs to be called, deposit, quantity 1, unit, we're going to say, we could do deposit here. And then the cost, let's say it's a $2,000 retainer to get started. Save those. And then you have the payment schedule listed here as well that you can then send to your client to review and have that retainer on the project so it's available to use via online payments also. I'm going to go ahead and look at more actions. Download as PDF is the additional option here. And then we also allow, again, for memo terms and conditions to be added in any files that might be needed. Let's say maybe you have a separate PDF with your terms and conditions. You can add that here as well. Let me just refresh this page. Looks like that didn't save. Okay, I'll add that in again. Perfect. And you got the auto save option up at the top. Okay. Really quick on retainers. Again, just a great way to have that visible and available to use when paying on documents. So when I go back to retainers and credits, here is that retainer I just added. Okay. So moving right along to invoices, I'm going to continue to go back to that estimate tab because there's so many things you can do from an estimate. And I'll go to this approved estimate right here. Once it's approved and we're good to go, you don't need to make any more changes. That's when I recommend then converting this into an invoice. So if we go up to more actions up at the top, and again, you have those actions here as well. A couple of places you can do the same thing. You will create an invoice. And that's going to take everything that is on this estimate and pull it into an invoice so your client can then pay you for that project. And again, like I mentioned previously, anything you're converting from one document to another will be linked. So we've got the estimate here, the change order I did, and the purchase order that I did that are all linked there for visibility. So with invoicing, additionally, beyond all the column settings that we've covered already, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here. And this is a rather long estimate, so just go down all the way to the bottom. Excuse my slow internet for a sec. There we go. So here at the bottom, we can see the subtotal, the markup, which is something I'm including for some of these items, and then tax. You don't need to include tax if that's not relevant for your state or location. For me, I'm based in California, so I am going to add the sales tax rate and select that here. I don't know why my internet is freezing. I apologize. There we go. And that will add the tax rate to each item if you have the item marked as taxable for material or labor or both. The amount paid is 0 so far. So let's say my client paid me with that retainer and we want to use that. You have the ability to schedule payments on a document. I mentioned this for estimates, excuse me, but you can do this on estimates as well as on invoices. So if you schedule a payment here, we've already got the one payment, which is 100%. If we want to schedule an additional payment, it's actually going to break those up and do the math for us. So I know that this is about 50-50. I can change the payment terms here. Let's say payment 1 is actually going to be due upon receipt. And I can add additional payments if I'd like, or request a deposit from here if I need to. So if you didn't use the retainer option before, you can still request a deposit, and that will add that deposit option to your payment schedule. So if we log a payment, you'll notice there's this ellipses. You can delete this if the payment hasn't already been made. You can also log payment from here. And I have the ability, I have a couple retainers actually applied in my project for Bob Ross, so I can use what's available here and I can pay this in full. And that will mark that as paid right here. And again, actually you can delete the payment once it's paid, excuse me. And then you have the additional payment left. So when you send this invoice, again, I recommend attaching any files, your terms and conditions, and a quick memo to the client. Payment 1 already taken care of, whatever the memo might be. Your activity stream lives down here at the bottom. And when you send this over, and scroll back up to the top and click send, I can see it's partially paid. That status automatically changed for me when I logged that first payment. Again, I can copy this link or send it directly to my client and CC or BCC anyone that I need to. I'm going to preview what this looks like first, though. Again, settings similar. We have the approval issue. You can also issue a document upon sending it. I recommend waiting to issue an invoice until you're absolutely sure it's ready to go and you don't need to make any additional changes. If you want to include images or the item description, you can do that as well. Adjust your columns. I don't want to show the markup, so I'm going to leave that off. And then pricing, I am going to show all the detail. This client's very detail oriented, so I want them to see everything. And if we scroll down to the bottom, again, it's going to preview everything that was on that invoice converted from that estimate. And then when I go here, you can hide this breakdown if you like. I'm choosing to show it. And I see that that first payment was already paid. And when my client receives this, they are actually able to pay online. So that is the next thing I want to discuss is setting up online payments. It is a wonderful feature to be able to get paid quickly, have that turnaround time and transaction time really cut like in half or more. So once you send this over to your client, let's say you don't have online payments set up next, it will actually prompt you on the invoice to set up online payments under the payment schedule. So I'm going to go back there for a sec. And again, this is a long invoice, so it sometimes can take a second to load all the information there. Here's that prompt. Set up online payments, set it up here. Definitely recommend utilizing this. We have really competitive transaction fees for both ACH and credit card and really quick turnaround times with our payment processor, Stripe, which is who we use through Houzz Pro. And if you don't see it here, which you should, you also have the ability to go up to your Houzz Pro settings, again, under your menu, under settings. And then if you go over to online
good question.
Yeah.
You had a good question, Elise. When adding payments, can you change the percentages? For instance, make one 25% and the next one 75% instead of 50 and 50?
Yep. You can customize your payment schedule to however many payments you need for that particular invoice. You can also do progressive invoicing. So if you have one large estimate, which is the one we were working off of initially, and let's say you only needed to invoice them for the first like category of items, you can select those items, create that invoice, have the client pay that, and then come back to the estimate and then select the next group of items and do progressive invoicing that way.
Yeah, for example, like sometimes what we hear is that banks only release money like for certain stages of a project that are complete. So if, say, that the bank released a certain amount of money once the slab was poured or the frames were up, you can just choose to select those items and bill for them.
Yep, exactly. And then I do not have online payments set up in my demo account here, but this is where you would do it. It gives you a great video that highlights how to do online payments, continue to set up, and walks you through the entire process of what documentation to provide, how to set up your business. A really good important note when you're setting up online payments for the first time is make sure you know how you set up your business with the IRS. If you set yourself up as a business, then you will need to provide your EIN number, your employee identification number, along with any documents that Stripe requires. If you set your business up as individual or personal, you'd actually need to provide your social security number and not your EIN number. So that's something that we see pros run into sometimes. So just wanted to clarify that point. But lots of great information. We've handled $9 billion in online payments, over almost 700,000 transactions. Turnaround time is typically within 1 day. I will note your first online payment transaction may take a little bit longer because we're also verifying your account on top of that. So we want to make sure that we are being secure in what we provide and that we do verify you, which again can sometimes take a tad longer on your first transaction. But beyond that, should be really quick. And then Ed and I see, what about a corporation? I believe that would be the same as setting up as business. They only give you 2 options, so it'd be the business one. Great question. Okay. Anything else I can help answer regarding like online payments, invoicing, scheduled payments?
Justin has a question here. Is it easy to add change orders, and does it reflect on the original invoice, or is it a separate section?
Good question. The change order, it is easy to set up a change order. You just go to the estimate that's approved, select what you need to change, and create that change order as I showed. It will not update the original estimate. So if you'd rather go back and like reopen the estimate for editing and reflect it there, that would be like your secondary option to utilize. But the change order will be linked to both the estimate and the invoice so that you have that paper trail. Good question. Great questions. Okay.
One more from Susan just before we plow on. Susan's using QuickBooks Online, and she was wondering, is she being charged by you and by Houzz for using the payment portal?
So the online payments section is incorporated into your Houzz Pro subscription cost. So you aren't being like charged anything additional for utilizing online payments beyond like our transaction fees with ACH or credit card, which if you prefer, you can actually offset those to your client. If you'd like, there's the option to do that. Once you set up online payments, you'll see that in this section, and you can also do that from the project itself. And then QuickBooks, we do have integration with QuickBooks Online. So whatever you're paying for your QuickBooks Online subscription would be separate from your Houzz Pro subscription, but we do integrate with the software, which can be found under integrations here in your Houzz Pro settings. I know we went over the calendar integration already, but there's the QuickBooks one as well.
And just the fee for ACH, just for everybody, Susan was wondering as well.
I believe it's, correct me if I'm wrong, Keith, but I believe it's 1.2%.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Okay, keeping me on my toes here. Love it. And yes, Edna, it is for syncing to QuickBooks. It's a one-way sync from Houzz Pro to QuickBooks. So invoices, estimates, purchase orders, if you have the specific SKU of QBO, that offers PO syncing. All of those sync from Houzz Pro to QuickBooks as well. Cool. Okay, moving right along here. The next piece is our schedule, which I'm really excited to go over because we've made some major enhancements to the schedule lately. So let me navigate back to our Bob Ross project here. Keep using him as my example. So we talked about a lot of this stuff. We went over the financials. Now under project management, you're going to see your daily logs, which again are just like notes for when you're meeting with a client. Time and expenses, so you can track time utilized for a project as well as any expenses, and then our schedule that you can share not only with you, your team members, but also with your clients as well as with your subcontractors if you've invited any subs to your Houzz Pro account as well. So when I click into schedule, I kind of preset this up just for time so we have enough time to go over all the great features, but there's a lot of different views that you have of the schedule which are new. The Gantt view, which is what we're looking at here, the calendar view, which I'll switch over. If you prefer this type of view, you have that available as well. And then we have the list view, which is newer. This will show you the dates. So again, it just kind of lists out the calendar versus showing it as a calendar or Gantt chart. I personally like the Gantt chart view. I think it's really easy to move things around and be able to adjust things because as we know, schedules constantly change with construction projects based on supply, vendors, your client, whatever it might be. Maybe they go on vacation, you need to move things. So these are going to be things that you can rename, delete, but this is your phase of the project. So the kind of like the category of the schedule is what I set up: pre-construction, construction, and post-construction. Those are kind of my three phases to get through this project. Underneath, you're going to have items. So those are all the different items that you need to get to within that phase. So for example, pre-construction phase 1, I didn't add additional detail here, but be creative, whatever you need to do within pre-construction, whether it's meeting with the city, getting plans approved, you can rename these however you'd like. We click on this, and that's going to open this side view, which shows me all the details of this particular item. So within pre-construction phase 1, the location I can adjust. I just typed in my client's address here. You can change the dates. So right now I have this phase starting on Friday on the 22nd, and it's going to run through Monday. So this should take about 3 days. You can also change this if it's not an all-day event and you need particular times. Maybe it's just Friday, but from like 8 to 5. You unselect all day and you can change the times as well. I'll reselect this just for viewing sake. It tells you the working days. And again, if it's not all day, it'll tell you the working hours instead. From here, this next icon with the little person plus is who is invited to this schedule. So myself, I've got my client, and I also have a team member who is helping me with this project. If I needed to add anyone additional, you can select this drop-down caret, and I can add any other team members. I can also add a sub, and I can invite team members here as well. So great way to easily add more team members that need to access your Houzz Pro account without them needing to have an additional subscription. The other thing I love about the schedule are the dependencies. So things are dependent on each other. Phase 1 of construction is the first thing I'm beginning with. So there is no beginning dependency because it's the first item on the list. However, pre-construction phase 1 has to end before I go into pre-construction phase 2. I cannot start this phase until the items in the first phase are completed. So I'm putting this dependent on phase 1 ending first. And you can see this little arrow here. Let me actually exit out of this. I'll make this a little bit larger so you can see it a little more easily. You can see the arrow. That is notating that this this item is dependent on this, flip that. This phase is dependent on this one ending. So it's nice because if things move, as we know, things do change throughout the project. You just drag and drop, and it moves everything that's associated with the previous item out as well. So if let's say I move this like over a day, and it's saving for me automatically as I'm doing those changes, I'll select the phase again, and now I can see the dates actually changed as well. So again, really great to not have to move a million things around at once. It'll all move with you. You can add notes here. So I need to get approvals from the city for this. I can change the colors, and I can assign a task. So if I'm assigning my team member to kind of take this first phase for me, I can go to task. I'll add in get plans from city approved, and then I can schedule this as well and add, sorry, my mouse is a little slow, add a person also. Oop. Perfect. Okay, when I add that, now I want to edit the details of this task. Oop. Sorry, my task is disappearing here. Let's try that again. There we go. Okay, so again, I want to edit the details of this. That will pop out what I've got for this task so I can assign it. I'm going to assign it to my team member. You can also assign it to clients or subs. So if you need your client to do something, hey, I need you to pick out the wallpaper that you want for that feature wall. I need you to do it by 2 weeks from now. You can assign them a task as well. Let's say for this, I'm going to assign this to my team member. The due date is going to be, let's say by Monday, because that's when the second phase should begin. I can add a description, upload any files, and then save this task, which will assign it to that team member. And I can go in and directly complete this from here as well, and from our task list, which you can see through the homepage of Houzz Pro. So if I continue to go through these phases and items, I can see additional details. Again, the working days, dependencies. So this one has to begin after pre-construction phase 1, and it needs to end before the next item of construction begins. Mark these as complete. You can come up here and delete if you need to. You can also delete from the left-hand menu, but really, really awesome way to keep everybody organized. There's a lot of subs. There's usually a lot of team members. Even your client, there may be like a husband and wife team, or maybe they have somebody else coming in and helping. There's always a lot of people that need visibility into the timeline so they can plan accordingly or be home or be available. So this is a great way to keep everyone organized and on the same page. And then you'll notice up here, you can actually see who has visibility to this schedule. So if I click on any of these icons, the little blue icon is going to be any of your clients. They do have access, meaning this is available on their client dashboard. You can give them no access if you're not ready to share this yet. Your team members, this is dependent on their permissions. So I know we discussed team member permissions yesterday. You would go to your team's page and make sure that particular team member has access to the project as well as to the schedule for that project. And then for subs and vendors, they can also have access to the schedule. If you click here, it'll tell you what they have access to. Visible to all subs and vendors invited to this project, and then not visible to them if they are not invited to this project. So you can access the sharing capabilities here as well. So you can add items and phases from here as well. So if you need to add additional, again, you have that option here, here, and here, so multiple places. You can save this as a template as well. So this is a newer part of our schedule that we have available. If this is let's say this is a pretty standard schedule that you use for a lot of remodels, you can save this as a template. You can also sync it to your calendar or export it. But let's do save as template, and I'll just say kitchen remodel schedule template. Name it whatever you'd like. You can include all of these or none of these, totally up to you, and then click create. And that will save it. We are working on a future phase of our schedule feature where templates will be available everywhere within Houzz Pro. But for now, to use this on a new project, what you would do is actually go to, I'll take one of these other projects I've been working on, this large build. And then when you go to the schedule tool, which, you know what, I'm sorry, I already had a schedule built for this one. So let me do a new project. Just quickly create a new project here. I'm going to give it a name.
While you're doing that, I can jump in. There's a couple of great questions there.
Yeah.
So Justin was asking about, will the system give you notifications? Say if like a subcontractor is scheduled to be on 2 jobs at the same time. I can take that one. So that is a schedule conflict, and we haven't built it at the moment, but it is in the works, and it should be coming in a release coming in the next couple of months. So we will have that coming. And then David has asked, can you have tasks that give notifications on when it's upcoming or due or overdue? So absolutely, yeah, you can add tasks to any item on the schedule. Some of the great use cases we've seen for that are people use them, say, if they have the concreter coming on X date, they'll set a task as a reminder that they ring the concrete contractor to make sure that he is definitely coming, and then they need to order concrete, so they can set tasks for like 2 weeks before the item is actually due or whenever that is. So yeah, some great questions there.
Yeah. And to your point about tasks, I know I mentioned like it's accessible elsewhere. You can access them through like the project homepage, or if you go to your manage drop down menu, there's this task center here as well. So when you click in here, there's two different views you can do, the list view or card view, just depending on how you'd like to see it. And it will tell you if it's overdue. And you can also delete tasks from here too. So you've got your completed task list, kind of similar to Google Tasks, which I use every day. I love them. Great tasks to keep people organized for sure. All right. And then I was actually going to go back to that project I just made, which we have a quick create for the project option where you can go in and fill in all the other details later, but you just need to add the project name and it'll get you started. And if we go back to schedule, now we're going to see the templates that we have available. So I've done a few tests in the past, kitchen remodel, schedule template, or you could start completely from scratch. So if you select that, you'll just start with a blank slate. But if I click this template that I just saved from Bob Ross's project, that will add that in for me. And I can go in and easily adjust these dates and dependencies and assignees and things relevant for this project that may be a little different from Bob Ross's project. And you'll click apply template. Sorry, I should have done that first. So then you can go in and edit everything. Okay. Last thing is our clipper and selections process. So this is going to kind of tie everything together. And we've had the product clipper for years and years and years. It's something we had with Ivy that we adapted into our design software. And we recently introduced it for our build pros as well, because you do have clients that sometimes need to understand, hey, what armchair is going to go in this living room, or what countertops are we going to be using? What's the backsplash going to look like? So you have that design aspect of your construction projects as well. And we want to do a complete 360 project really overview for you. So you have all the tools you need right in Houzz Pro. So we have our clipper tool, which I'm going to demo that first. And I'll just go back to our Bob Ross project for reference. So I have the houzz.com site open. I'll use them as an example. You can use any product website you'd like, wherever you shop regularly, but I'm signed into my build account here. So let's say I'm still helping Bob Ross with that kitchen remodel. I want to go over to our marketplace, which is where we have products available for purchase on Houzz. Oh, excuse me, I clicked on our directory instead. Shop products. And then I'm going to go over to our kitchen and dining, and I want to specifically look at fixtures. Maybe I'm looking for a kitchen sink. I'm really a big fan of farmhouse sinks. My client loves those too. They want a big area to wash dishes. So here's a great one right here from StandArt. So I'm going to select this product. This is the one I want to recommend for my client to utilize in their kitchen. And you'll notice when you're hovering over product images, you're going to see not the video one, but actual standalone images. You'll see the ivy leaf icon. So what you're going to do is click on this. That's going to open this side menu here, which is really the base of our clipper tool. We have what we call smart sourcing on houzz.com. So it'll actually pull in a lot of information for you. On other sites, smart sourcing isn't available. So you can just click and add information that's relevant for you. But this is a great add to your product library and have these actually within Houzz Pro to utilize again and again. So I pulled this one photo. I want to take other pictures, so I have a couple views. Highly recommend not clipping the thumbnail. Clip the actual image because it'll give you the best quality image to reuse on any document within Houzz Pro. So let's say I want a lifestyle shot like this one. I'll use that ivy leaf image again to pull over the photo. I'll do this image as well. And you can pull in up to 5. Let's take this close up. Let's do one more. Maybe we want to do like these specs, pull that in as well. Now, again, because we have smart sourcing turned on, we have the product title filled out already. We have the cost. You can even add your markup here if you'd like. Is it taxable? The client description. So this is just pulling from the product description on Houzz, but if you want this to be a little more vague, you can of course change this up to whatever you'd like. And then I'll scroll down here. There's a lot more information you can add in. The type of category. So maybe it's, and if you don't have the category added yet, you can add it right from here. The vendor. So if I don't have the vendor already listed, I'm going to select Houzz, but you can also add in the actual vendor, which is Kraus USA Inc. The project, you can assign it directly to a project from here also. So I'm going to assign it to Bob Ross. And then room. So you are actually able to create rooms from here. I'm not going to create a room plan from scratch, but I will show you where those are at. So you have visibility to that. And then additional details was pulled again using our smart sourcing on things like the manufacturer, dimensions, color, material, things like that. So you can add as much detail as you'd like to this product and save it to Houzz Pro. So let's go ahead and save that. And then you can continue doing this as much as you'd like on any site, Wayfair, Houzz, Home Depot, Lowe's, wherever you are searching for products. Maybe you even have a vendor partnership on certain vendors you use often. The clipper will work on every site, and then you can pull that in. So now we're on our Bob Ross kitchen project here. The room plan is the next step in providing selections for your client. So you click on room plan. I can see that I actually already have one of my room plans created, which is the one I just sourced that product to. If you need to create a new one, you can do so right from the top right. It'll also show you your budget here. So if I click into kitchen, here's that sink. Because I already added it to the room and to the particular project, it's there and it's available for me. I can add commenting here, which is a great feature. You can comment to your client like, hey, Bob, check out this sink, like whatever it might be. You can also add them if you want to add their name in here, which I believe I have Bob Ross saved. There you go. It'll send them an email and they can comment back. This, if you're clicking on client, this is only visible between you and your client. I'll submit that. However, if you want to comment to your team, maybe you have your project manager also helping with this project, this comment is only going to be visible to your team member, not to your client. So just be mindful that you're clicking on the right one when you're doing this, so you're sending the chat to the right place. The link here, this is going to be the product link that was sourced, so it actually takes me directly to that page on houzz.com. Information is the item overview, so things can be edited here as well. If I need to add general details, you can also go to the product, which I'll show you where that is, to edit things also. And let me click out of the comments. And then in addition, you can change the size. Maybe we need this to be larger. You want things to stand out more on the page, depending on how important the product is. I'll keep this small for now. Fit image to width of the page. So some of our designers like to see it a little scaled out. So again, up to you. I'll fit that to the height there. Set as the cover image. So that would be the cover image of the room itself or the room plan. Hide this from your client. Remove it, move it, or delete it from the project completely. So you give, and I'm going to include this in the budget because I want this to be something my client sees. Yeah.
Okay, I have a great question here, and it's coming from Chris, and he says, I can't get the clipper tool to clip good images from Home Depot. They turn out fuzzy. So something that Home Depot actually does is that they don't let the clipper tool like almost work. It doesn't show up on the top screen, but we're releasing a feature next week. So what you'll be able to do with Home Depot and other sites that the clipper doesn't work well on is just right click on the image, and you'll be able to say that you'll see an option to save it to your Houzz Pro clipper there. So it'll be as simple as using the right click rather than clicking on the leaf. And that's being released next week. So exciting to get that out.
Yeah, great question, Chris, because that's something that we've heard from other pros. We're excited for that release. And then Debbie asked, can you edit these items once you've created it? From this view, and Keith, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe there's a limited editing ability. However, if I go to let's say convert this room plan, which is what I was going to go through next anyway, you can actually convert room plans into an estimate or an invoice as well. So we went through the other ways to create invoices and estimates. This is just yet an additional way to do that. You'd be able to convert this. I'm going to say I want just this item on here and convert, because if there's multiple items, you can select those as well. And that will pull in, and there's the image too. So you can now see where images end up when you are editing items that you clipped. Now, if you can edit this information here, but you can also go to add items. And if you go to from parts list, you're going to see your selections library here, which is where you should be able to edit. Like this is the item we just clipped. You click on the 3 ellipses to the right, click edit, and here's all the information you can now edit for that product as well. Something we do have as a future release also is similar to our design software, we have a products and services category. We're going to be adding that for build also. It's just not available yet, but it will be. So yeah, selections process is really meant to be allowing you to clip products and have that design aspect as part of your document creation, and really providing that like 360 all-encompassing service for your clients, so they can not only see the construction, estimate plans, takeoffs, but also the design side of it once the project is all said and done.
Brilliant. Is that you finished?
I think so.
Gee, well done you. It has been great to have you all here. We appreciate you joining. There's a lot to cover there today, so thanks for your patience and your attention, and thanks to Elise for putting in all the hard work to kind of run you through it. Yeah, thanks again for tuning in.
Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Bye.